Hi everybody, my name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, May 20th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com over the past week. First up, Google has released their new Google mobile-friendly testing tool. We reported about the beta closed access 2 weeks ago, and now it's finally live. It's a bit cooler, it's cleaner. It should be mobile-friendly as well. There was little bugs with it being mobile-friendly itself, but now it should be mobile-friendly, and this is what it looks like. Gives you a quick snapshot, shows you a picture, and tells you how to actually fix it. You click on the block resources, and it tells you more information. It used to not work on the mobile device, but now I think it does work fine. When you test the mobile friendliness of a mobile site while using your smartphone, it does work. So give that a try if you haven't. This is pretty cool. Richard from Google yesterday gave a big session at Google I/O on a lot of topics around their index, and one thing he announced he said is that we're testing a real-time indexing API. Now, Google typically, when they write content on the Search Engine Roundtable, within a matter of seconds, probably like 30 seconds to 60 seconds, that content is already indexed in Google, specifically because it goes in Google News, and ranking very, very quickly. But that's not quick enough for Google. Google wants it to be real-time, meaning immediate. So as soon as I hit publish, Google knows about it, and bam, it's in their index. And they're testing this real-time index. It's supposedly piloting right now. They hope to release some type of more information about it in the upcoming months, but who knows? I asked Stacy Chan, who's involved in that team. She said it's coming soon. We'll keep you posted with updates. Here's some screenshots showing him talking about it. Surface real-time results for real-time query spikes. Here's what it might look like. Looks like a real-time widget showing you real-time information and so forth. So it's pretty cool. I have no idea. I've been asking Google about this. Google's not really commenting. Hopefully I'll get more information and be able to share it with you, but right now I have no information to share with you outside of it, is that they're working on it. There was a bug earlier this week, over the weekend actually, that if you received a manual action, for some people who received a manual action for mobile sneaky redirects, when they try to hit a reconsideration request feature, it didn't allow them. It just bugged out. There was some type of JavaScript Search Console error. Google did fix it 2 days ago. Which is good, so now it's fixed and you don't have to worry about it, but it actually had an issue for about a week or two where people could not submit reconsideration requests, and thus their sites were doing pretty poorly in Google. Talking about penalties, this morning John Mueller said in the Google Hangout that there's no real safe way to go ahead and redirect a site that's penalized to a site that's not penalized. So let's say you go ahead and get a penalty. You have a major company like IBM gets a penalty, IBM.com. And the only solution is, because they're so badly penalized, is to start a new website. So they start a company called ABM.com. They can't redirect IBM.com to ABM.com because the penalty will flow to the new domain. So there's no real good solution with that. And John Mueller said the only real solution is a trick, which is called cloaking, and cloaking is against Google guidelines, so you might go ahead and get penalized even worse if you go ahead and do that. And he said this in the video this morning in the Google Hangout. Talking about penalties again, Google is going to court in Florida for serving up a manual action, for pure spam manual action, on one publisher's website, one publisher, which had 231 websites that were all delisted over pure spam penalties in Google. And the publisher suing Google in Florida. Google tried to dismiss the case before it even went to court. The court ruled that they have to go to court. Nothing has been ruled yet, but they're going to court over this over delisting and hurting this guy's business. It'll be interesting to see what happens in court. I can't imagine Google losing this case. If they do, this is going to open the floodgates in terms of anybody who has hit a manual action could go ahead and sue Google going forward. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see, and to see what happens with that case. Google has given advice on what to do with the pirate penalty. So there was this DMCA penalty that was launched a few years ago, and we haven't heard much about it. Google updated it only once since. And basically, if you get a lot of real DMCA complaints, and they're actually legit complaints, and over time, Google will go ahead and serve up this DMCA algorithm penalty, which downgrades your website because you're copying people's content too much. And Eric Kwan from Google, a Google spam fighter, gave some advice. The advice isn't really that good, to be honest. It's like, keep improving your website and so forth. But it's the first time I heard Google talk about this penalty in a long time, so I figured I'd share it, and you can read it if it's interesting to you. Got a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to go through too much detail here, but I have links to all the information in the YouTube video and on the Searching Roundtable as well. Google has added a bunch of stuff to Google Search Console. One is they added an AMP filter in the Google Search Analytics report. So now if you're serving up AMP pages, Google's going to go ahead and let you go ahead and filter your Search Analytics report by AMP. And this way you can see what queries are leading to your website through AMP and so forth. It's pretty amazing because I'm an AMP and I'm a publisher, so I can actually see I'm getting tons of traffic, impressions, and clicks for keywords like Google, Bing. These are keywords I wouldn't rank for normally. I will rank for them in news items, but not in the organic results. And now I'm actually seeing, it's like I could actually see, I wish they added news here, because I would like to see news versus AMP and so forth. But AMP is news right now, so it's kind of confusing. In any event, it's pretty cool to be able to see what traffic you're getting from organic search, regular, versus AMP or news and other stuff. Talking about that, in Richard's presentation yesterday at I.O., where I just told you about, he actually had a screenshot which stood out to me. And here's the Google Search Console. And you can see, let me just open up larger. You can see over here, zoom in a little bit, not only is AMP there, which is live for everybody who has AMP pages, there's also featured snippets and rich results. So Google's adding these two features right here, so you can actually filter to see what queries are leading to your featured snippets, how much traffic and impressions you're getting for those, as well as which ones are actually resulting in rich results. All very, very interesting. I don't know when exactly they're coming, but those are really great tools, and Google's going to hopefully keep adding more and more filters there over time so we can actually learn more and more about our traffic and how those users are getting to our website through Google Search. Also in Google Search Console, they added a new feature called Rich Cards. Rich Cards, well, overall they added a new feature called Rich Cards, and it's also in Google Search Console. Rich Cards is basically, here, let me show you a screenshot. So standard search results, this was announced right before I.O. Rich snippets, which everybody knows about already, and Rich Cards is brand new this week, where it's actually launching with recipe websites, recipe pages, and movie pages, where it's actually an enhanced version of the rich snippets. And because of that, Google actually added a new feature in Google Search Console for Rich Cards to let publishers and webmasters, manage those. And if you look at it, you can see it shows you reports on invalid cards, enhanceable cards, and fully enhanced cards. That gives you tips on how to actually improve your website. Again, this only applies specifically right now with movie and recipe pages, but it's going to expand over time, so definitely take a look at that because those are the next enhancements on rich snippets. They kind of look like carousels, news carousels, and AMP carousels, and you can see where Google is going with all of this. Another feature in Google Search Console is Maria Mova, if I'm pronouncing that right. She's involved in the app world, and she basically said that Google will sometimes go ahead and look to see if your website has Apple universal links. And then, so what happened was Pierre Farr, a former Googler, said, hey, what the heck's going on? Why is Google showing App Association 404 when I never even submitted an app? And Maria Mova basically said, sometimes Google will go ahead and check to see if you have those universal links, and if they can't find it, it'll just show up there. It's perfectly normal, don't worry about it. But I found that interesting because Google's just automatically checking to see if you have universal links as opposed to you having to tell Google through the Google Search Console about that. Very, very interesting, and so forth. Google did share some information about AMP again in Richard's I.O. session yesterday. One is they share the growth numbers, and here's a tweet from Jeff Jarvis showing that Google has shared that they have 125 million documents, AMP documents, in the index with over across of 640,000 domains. So it's growing pretty nicely. Richard also announced that it's expanding to the iOS and Android search apps, so you can actually get AMP results in those apps specifically. Plus, Google also announced that it's coming to new content verticals, specifically with recipe websites right now. So if you have recipe markup, again, it's probably related to Rich Cards, you will get this experience. So there's how it looks like in the search results, and this is how it looks like when you click on it. So definitely, AMP is definitely expanding and growing. Google's taking it seriously, and I guess you should as well. Google has redesigned their structured data testing tool, and that means it looks a little bit different. It actually functions a little bit differently. Here's a look at it. This is a feature I use a lot, and most webmasters and SEOs use a lot to make sure their structured data is properly formatted. Google's constantly tweaking and adjusting it, so validating that type of stuff over time, as well as websites break or formatting changes. So you have to constantly test to make sure. I just noticed this week that I had some problems with my structured data. Quick update, fixed it, and all is good now. And this all helps with the rich snippets and all the rich cards and all this other stuff, so you definitely want to make sure you're doing the right thing with your structured data. Gary from Google basically talked a little bit about crawl budgets, and he said it's really not what people think. It's more about how Google schedules the crawler to index certain pages, those buckets they put these URLs into, part of the scheduler, and also host load. It's basically a very detailed discussion about how Google crawls the web, why they crawl the web, what rationale they use, what their patterns are, what their schedules are, and how server performance actually impacts on that. So I definitely recommend you look at that. Again, it's a long topic, so I'm not going to go into detail right now because I have tons of topics to discuss this week. And honestly, I didn't even cover everything I want. I have another 20 topics I need to publish next week that I haven't even got to, because mostly of I/O stuff and a lot of stuff that happened this week around that. Again, I/O was this week, and I have a quick recap about that. We have the Google Assistant, which is basically their first voice search on steroids. We have Firebase stuff, which I'll probably talk a little about later, but basically Google renamed Google App Indexing to Firebase App Indexing, and they have a lot of analytics around that and so forth. They have Google Home, which is basically like an Amazon Echo on your desk using Google, which is pretty cool. I don't know if there's a video. I have a video of that over there. They have Allo and Duo, which is basically a conversational chat feature, Android Wear, VR, lots of stuff around that, as well as Instant Apps and Firebase. So I have a quick recap about what happened at I/O. Definitely recommend you, if you haven't checked it out, you have to read about it because it does affect search and SEO. Google announced that 20% of the queries done on the Android app, the Android search app, are voice enabled, which is pretty impressive. Like I said before, Google Firebase, which is a company they acquired back a few years ago, is now the core behind Google's app feature. So they launched Firebase Analytics, which is basically app analytics. They revamped Google App Indexing into Firebase App Indexing. They added tons more documentation. They added a tool to let you preview how your apps will appear in the search results. Here are the analytics charts. So it's pretty cool. They're actually putting a lot of time and effort into this Firebase stuff as opposed to the Google App Indexing. Google Image Search now officially has shopping ads. So that's another thing we've seen over time, and now Google has officially announced image search is getting ads, product listing ads, shopping ads in the search results. So that's pretty interesting. Do I have another screen? I have a couple screenshots, but here's a GIF of it working. Google AdWords is testing site cards as AdWords site links. Here's a screenshot. So you can see here, site links in a card format as opposed to just a listing format, which is what I see versus what they're testing. Google AdWords also officially uses purple ad labels in the Google Map results, something we saw being tested, but that's actually official. So here's a screenshot of what the purple ads look like, add a purple ad label as opposed to the yellow, or what Google's testing in the main results is green. Google is testing a new UI, specifically a card format UI. This is a UI, the user interface that they actually launched in 2013, and they rolled it back eventually. But it looks like this. You have these card blocks, like card style. I don't know if you see that. They're like cards. Instead of like everything's in its own little box. Again, they had that UI back in 2013. I guess they're bringing it back to test it. Google now lets you search in emojis. So if you're an emoji nut, you could actually go to Google, type in Apple with an emoji character, and Google will bring up emoji-related search results. Back in the day, they didn't, so now they do. Bing does and Yahoo does. They do it differently than Google, but it definitely works now. Google launched a new BMI calculator. This is what it looks like. And finally, Bing launched Bing Ads Editor version 11.0. It's a major update to their Bing Ads Editor, specifically adding multi-account management, a completely revamped visual design, and many, many other features, so definitely take a look at that. Anyway, I'm sorry for this video taking so long. Again, there's so much I had to discuss this week. There's so much more I have to discuss for next week. Really cool topics that I think you will enjoy. In any event, thanks so much for listening to this Search Buzz video recap. Again, today is Friday, May 20th. Everyone have a great weekend. This is the search engines we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable, SERoundtable.com over the past week. Again, my name is Barry Schwartz. Have a great weekend. Bye.